If you guys like the content, just make sure you subscribe and turn your notifications on. It helps out a lot and it gets my channel out there a little bit more. Thanks for watching, guys. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the last video in the series that I've been doing on the Sci-Fi research facility. So this is like the 3D Paintover stage. Took my render from Blender and I'm going to show you guys how I touch it up. This is the final product what you see on the screen right now, and this is what I pulled straight out of Blender. So I'm gonna show you how I go from something like this and end up with this. So starting off, I'm just organizing stuff um, and trying to kind of balance out the values a little. I have like my render layers that I brought out of Blender, and now I'm just creating like masks with them, so it's easier to select things. The depth mask is really good for having values vary in the distance. The ambient occlusion just kind of sharpens the shadows up and makes those occlusion areas a little bit more contrasty. I usually try to crunch the values down in order to get a stronger effect. Separating out the background layer so that I can add in, some sky and stuff like that. But that's how I usually start every piece. I just come in and I organize everything and I select out masks that I'm going to be using for the environment. And I noticed I'd forgotten to do like a color ID. So I came into Blender and rendered out a color ID real quick. That'll allow me to use like the magic wand tool, so I can just select objects really quickly and mask them out. If you look on the right, like the folder setup that I have is kind of the order that I do things in. So I'll start to add like photos and just photo bash stuff in. So right now I'm photo bashing the background sky. I think that's a sky from photobash.co. And then adding in some clouds. And I come in here and I paint on top of the clouds to add like a little bit of color variation and make it look a little bit different. Here I'm just masking out the foreground. I'm going to start working on the values to try and add depth to the scene. So make my foreground darker. I didn't like how it made the character really dark. So here I'm just using that ID pass to mask him out. And then I just paint it out so that he isn't so dark, kind of blends in with the foreground a bit better. And here I'm adding like background value change. So I use that depth mask to basically select different areas of the painting, and I will darken the values in the foreground and then lighten the values as it goes off into the distance, as you would naturally see in like a landscape environment. Here I'm just photo bashing some textures onto those mountains just because they look really crappy in 3D. They're kind of just placeholders in Blender. Most everything in like the distant background that I create in Blender is going to end up covered up with a photo texture. I kind of just use it as a placeholder. It just automatically looks way better once you drop like a photo texture on top of it, or paint out some of the blobbiness. Checking the values in black and white, make sure everything's reading well. Normally before I start the paint over process, I go in and I find a bunch of photos that I think I could use. just to have everything prepared. I normally have it in like a pure ref folder. Just trying to see where I could fit that photo in. It's a lot of experimentation and just like trying to see what fits and what doesn't. I think I ended up just recycling the one from the mountain on the right side. Coming over here and painting in the foreground a little bit and just blending in those rocks a little better. And I like that brush a lot because it's kind of grainy and it almost gives like the effect of like snow blowing across the surface. Yeah, I'm just coming in here and cleaning up some of these loose ends that you get from the 3D work. I kind of work all over the place. Whatever like catches my eye, I'll start to work on that area for a little bit. There is a method to it. I go in a general order, but then I kind of veer off and just like touch up things that catch my eye while I'm kind of following that pattern of photo bashing, value correction, and then just blending it with like paint layers. But here I'm just trying to blend that a little bit better. Coming in here, I think I just grabbed that texture and just moved it over. Easy way to just add some texture in there. I'm just smudging out and roughing up the edges. One like good rule of thumb, like when you're roughing up edges like that, is try to do it on the areas that are not like your primary focal point. You don't want like these hard 3D edges on like areas that you aren't necessarily trying to catch the eye. I was trying to make that another photo work on that area. Even though the color is very different, I try to use a hue saturation to change the color a little bit, but I could have done a couple different methods to make it look better. Um, it's still like too warm now that I'm looking at it. You can use either like color balance or even like match color to try to get better results. So yeah, see here I am trying to do match color. I think that definitely looks a little bit better, but I think I still end up adding some more textures onto the top of it. Just trying to balance it out. Using that depth mask again to create a mask for those clouds so that they're only showing up behind the building and the character. Just trying to create a little separation in the background clouds and the middle ground clouds. Here I'm using the channels to mask out this photo. And then I use the burn tool. It's an easy way to mask out objects pretty quickly. I haven't spent a lot of time with the lasso tool. And try and fit that section of the photo in here. I think it ends up being pretty subtle. Um, I think in the end, I just end up using it to create like a bit of noise. Kind of just suggesting detail. Working on the sphere, the dome. Here's another photo that I'm going to mask out. Place that over there. Seeing where I can fit it in. Using the lasso tool to mask it. And then to integrate photos a little bit, sometimes I'll select like a background color and clip a soft light mask to it, the photo that I'm trying to blend, and it'll give it just like a little bit of that ambient lighting. Just painting out some of those details, create more separation between the background and the foreground. Adding a little bit of panel lines into there, cleaning that up. Just trying to create variations on the edges to break up that 3D effect. Because everything in 3D comes out really sharp and uniform. So it's good to come in with like a smudge brush or the mixer brush and just paint out the sharp edges a little bit and just blend everything, make it look more painterly. I know a lot of people who use just straight 3D renders and they're good at adding a bunch of post effects to make it look more realistic and stuff like that. But I personally just like to paint um, to make it look more painterly, and that's just my personal preference. Coming from like a traditional background, yeah. And then I sometimes I'll add photos on like soft light or overlay mode, and that'll like just bring out some like of the darker details. Um, that's what I did on the foreground snow to add like more realistic texture to that snow. It's just like a regular like snow texture with a soft light blending mode on top of it, and it just blends it into like the background colors that you already kind of have. Just adjusting the lighting a little bit on the ground, but it's already starting to have noticeable differences at this point. and just merging those layers together, making some color adjustments to the sky. And just modifying the cloud shapes a little bit. It's a lot of back and forth, a lot of just experimenting, putting down strokes, undoing them, and just repeating that process for pretty much everything that I put down. If it looks good, I'll leave it. If it doesn't look good, then I'll just try something new until I can just kind of shape it into a better looking image. Adding some more separation. Just messing with the light a little bit more on that background mountain. Bringing that fog layer down. I think here I just wanted to have like a few more characters in the background so you can get like a better scale reference. I'm just changing them up a little bit and duplicating them. Painting in some of these poles. So yeah, it's a lot of back and forth. If I see something that needs to be fixed, I'll touch it up and then just move forward from there. Adjusting the silhouettes of those a little bit. I think I'll reuse that photo one more time. I found a lot better use of it on this next case. I was able to blend it in a lot better, and I think it fits in that area a lot more. And it works better because that area is more of the focal point, and so that's a lot of high frequency detail going on right there. That's my third go at trying to make this mountain look a little better. think it definitely looks a lot better with that photo texture on it. Just adding a little bit more depth to the image with that soft light layer. Fixing the values on this. Adding a little bit of snow flurries in here. Then I just applied like a zoom blur to it, so it kind of has a multi-directional flow. Makes it look more natural, more realistic. The snow is so light, it doesn't normally fall in the same direction. Just fixing up some values there. Adding like a light texture to areas, making it look more grungy. Trying to mess up that clean white plasticky look. Yeah, I think from this point on, I'm pretty much just blurring edges and correcting values. I like to use this mixer brush. Has like a real scattery, grainy look to it. Really nice for going and smudging up edges and giving it a better look, more painterly look. Works really good for like snow and sand and like stuff like that too. Kind of looks like it's kicking up into the air. Just checking my values again. Then here I am just adding like a little bit of post effects, some grain, and the chromatic aberration pretty soon. I normally save those for like those are some like the last things that I do whenever I'm finishing a painting is drop the grain on top and then add the fringing from like chromatic aberration, makes it look more like a photograph. Just like a little trick that I learned. Trying to paint a footstep in the snow. So another thing you can do is just add a duplicate the layer, add a Gaussian blur, and then add it to like lighten or soft light mode. Either one. Soft light normally darkens areas, and light mode kind of blends it, lightens all the edges up a little bit. But yeah, so that's the image done. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys could learn something from it. I know it was time lapsed, but it's the reason I decided to do it this way this time is because I didn't record audio while I was making it. And so to go back and just do like audio over it in real time would have taken 2 hours. And I think I'm gonna try to save some of that stuff for the future videos. But I hope you guys like the process. If you have any questions, just drop some comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.